Hello, everybody. It's me, Dr. Rick, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is doing okay this week. I know there's a lot going on. A lot of people have been talking about there are a lot of things going on. Whatever it is, be persistent, be consistent, be invested in finishing what you set out to do. A lot of times we get deterred by difficulty and we don't follow through and we don't finish, or we lay it down and put it off and we never come back to it. And it's about deciding that you want to do something and then refusing to relent on getting it done. That's how you win in this world. And I just want to encourage you in that. Now I'm going to move on to what I want to talk to you about real briefly. Look, it's easy to complain. It is. It's easy to talk about everything that's wrong. And when you are a part of the black community, there are plenty of things that are wrong. Hell, I spent an hour and 15 minutes on an online interview yesterday with someone who had literally came across one of my papers I had written on incest and molestation. Incest and molestation in the black community, and they wanted to talk to me about it, and we spent an hour and 15 minutes and barely scratched the surface. And that's one component. Adverse childhood experiences, one component. CSA, childhood sexual abuse, or whether it comes in the form of molestation, whether it comes in the form of rape, whether it comes in the form of incest. It's that elephant in the room that nobody likes to talk about. I shared that interview for those who want to watch it and gain some insight. The paper is available, and he shares the link, and if you need the link, I'll get you the link to where you can actually read the paper online. But what I want to talk to you about is, at what point are we going to stop complaining and actually start taking action? At what point are we going to stop posturing and actually become engaged and involved? I say that because my grandfather used to have a saying, and I've heard it, a lot of people obviously have the same saying. But when I used to talk about things that I wanted to do, you know, I had a big mind. Now, there were things I wanted to do that no one in my family or no one in my surroundings or my community had done. And I would just be talking. I'm talking about a little kid, 7, 8 years old, and I'd be talking about what I was going to do. And my grandfather would always say, boy, a pair of lips will say anything. It's not what you're going to talk about, it's what you're going to do. So let me see you start doing some of that stuff. And, you know, I'm talking big stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm a kid. And he was like, well, you're talking about it, so it's obviously something on your mind. Do something about it. And so what I started doing was I started reading. I started preparing my mind to think different. I started preparing my mind in a way that made me behave different. People said I was weird. People said, you know, I didn't fit in. People said, you know, I had all kind of assessments of who I was, but I was moving different because I wanted something different. And it required me to do. You know, I couldn't sit up and just keep talking about like you know, it's easy to say it. Like my grandfather said, man, a pair of lips will say anything. I'm not interested anymore in what people have to say. I'm more interested now in what you're willing to do. I'm more interested in what you have to bring to the table. Now, sometimes your knowledge is what needs to come to the table, and you need to be a part of the problem-solving component of this whole equation. And we need you to come forth, and we need to talk about it. But even in the conversations of potential solutions, there has to be at some point action taken. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see with my people is we're not a people of action. Now, we'll react to things. We'll lose our mind when somebody gets shot by a police officer. We'll lose our mind when Karen shows up and starts a ruckus somewhere. We'll lose our mind and we'll go on an unbelievable social media keyboard frenzy. Nothing gained, nothing changed. Just a whole lot of energy put off into saying how we feel. Another thing my grandfather taught me, and this is a little more aggressive, and this is definitely from the point of view of a man, but I say that, women need to have somewhat of a similar perspective as well, but definitely men. But my grandfather used to tell me all the time, make him feel you. Make your presence felt. Man, these people are driving worse and worse. It's getting crazy. I'm ready to move. A person sitting there, no blinkers on, nothing, just sitting there looking at it, reading the sign. But he would say, make your presence felt. Make them feel you. Don't spit box with them. If they come against you, make them feel you. Make your presence felt in this world, not by what you say, but by what you do. And make it clear what you're going to do by the way you behave, so people know before they do something what they can expect. And you're going to find that you're going to have to do it less, because people know, if I don't want it, I shouldn't do it. And I guess the term today will be, if I don't want that smoke. Yeah, if you don't want it with me, don't test me, because I'm going to bring all of it. I'm bringing every ounce of it. And it ain't even about whether I win or not. I'm coming. And if you beat me, you beat me. But you better be ready to go 100% until it ain't jack left, because I'm coming with it all. And that's how I live my life. Not just when I'm talking about getting at somebody. I'm talking about, that's how I live my life. I don't put myself half in, half out of anything. So when I see a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people complaining, a lot of people pointing fingers, I see that wasted energy. I see so much emptiness. I see hopelessness and powerlessness bundled up in a bunch of bravado, a bunch of noise talking, but no action. See, it's easier to talk about what you're going to do somebody than it is to do it. And so I'm about doing what needs to be done. I'm about sitting up and following through on my program, Black Men Lead. I'm about helping my wife follow through on her program, Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters. I'm about building a mental health network to help young black males deal with the issues that are plaguing them and driving them to suicide before they ever get to the age of 30. I'm about sitting up and providing an atmosphere for black children to actually be educated. And I've told you before, holistic education is so much more than the obtainment of academic skills. We've been sold a bill of goods when it comes down to a system that tells you they're educating your children, when truly they are indoctrinating them and training them to be subservient and submissive to a system that does not have their best interest at heart. And what we have to understand is the definition of education. I have always defined education as being the holistic process through which black children are empowered and prepared to enter into a world that is inherently hostile towards them, and not only compete, but win. Dr. Amos Wilson defined education as the process of developing one person or a group of people, so that they can solve the problems they encounter. So if your education doesn't prepare you and develop you in a way that you can solve your problems, it's not really education. It could be misinformation, it could be misdirection, it could be miseducation, but one thing it is not is holistic education. We had a problem with that. Our children aren't being properly educated, so we need to create an environment for them. I'm about doing that. I'm about sitting up and doing that. We love to malign our black men on all the things that the social media and the mainstream media love to amp up and promote and present about them. We very rarely give them credit for the things they're doing well. We very rarely sit up and celebrate them for being able to navigate this labyrinthine corridor of white supremacy and still be somewhat pro-social and productive. But the moment that there's one that is out of line or doing something they shouldn't be doing, it's amplified, it's blown up, it's put front street. And I'm not one for condoning any type of antisocial behavior that is counterproductive to the growth and expansion and empowerment of my people. So I'm not sitting up giving anybody a pass. What I'm sitting up saying is, when we sit up and we malign and we sit up and we talk about how horrible that is, what are we doing to reduce the occurrence, the frequency? What are we doing to ensure that this doesn't get worse but gets better? How are we actively making a difference outside of complaining, writing, "Oh my God," shaking my head, "Wow"? What are we doing outside of that? And I can tell you, the vast majority are doing nothing. And the ones who are doing something are stretching themselves thin. The ones who are doing something are being literally drained. The ones who are doing something are ones who are sitting up and literally finding themselves with little left in the tank. Many of those that have come before us have sit up and left this world absolutely broke after giving so much of unbelievable value to their people. It's amazing how little we see in the work that some mighty minds have done, and we have not acted upon it. You know, Dr. Claude Anderson in his 80s, he brought you the game 40 years ago, and every year since, he's brought you the game. Dr. Amos Wilson brought you the game on education and psychology of our people. Dr. Naeem Albar has done the same thing. Khalid Muhammad did it until his demise. Dr. Joy DeGruy, Dr. Howard Stevenson, Dr. James Smalls, Ashri Crary, oh man, my man, Dr. Tony Browder, Anthony Browder. I could go on and on. So much richness, so much great, you know. We take it, look at it, read it, flaunt it around, make memes about it, but never really stand on it, never really push it, never really become a part of it, never really embrace it to the point to where it's driving our actions, our thinking, our thoughts, our behavior. We've got to grow out of that. I was asked last night during my conversation, how do we get a grip on CSA and adverse childhood experiences in the black community? And I said, family. We're going to have to raise up an entire generation that's isolated from all the negative influences that create poor thinking. We're going to have to holistically educate an entire generation so that we can recover the concept of family. We can bring a level of restoration to the black family nucleus. And through that, develop values, interests, and principles that serve the cause of the collective good. And that's how we're going to have to do it. It's not going to happen overnight. I've said this so many times, and I'm going to close out with saying this again. What we're going to need if we're ever going to truly experience liberation and power and empowerment in this country are first men and then women who are willing to plant seeds that they may not live long enough to see come to fruition. What do I mean by that? We live in a world where everything is about instant and immediate gratification. Everybody wants their flowers now. Everybody wants a pat on the back. Everybody wants acknowledgement for what they've done. So nobody's looking for real, true, rooted solutions. People are looking for quick fixes that can bring them quick results that they can brag about and boast about and talk about and say they did. The problem is you're not going to solve a 300, 400-year problem in a month, in a year, in 5 years. You're going to have to be willing to sit up and play the long game. You're going to have to, again, as I said, create a generation that's untouched. Create a generation that by the time they're exposed to this system, they're well trained, they're well groomed, they're well prepared. They're not going to be shaken. They're not going to be misdirected. They're not going to be deterred. They know their responsibilities. They know their purpose. But most importantly, they know their identity. And you're going to have to guard them and protect them and cover them so that they can walk in it, so that they can literally start to practice the type of behavior that creates the type of power that we say we want. Now, on that note, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. And let me remind you, we are still in the middle of a fundraiser. We're still in the middle of raising money for Black Men Lead specifically. You're going to see in the box the information that you need to give in whatever way and how you want to give. We started out 4 weeks ago with a 1-week fundraiser with a simple goal of $10,000. We haven't even come close to 500. Well, I won't say come close. We haven't hit 500 for definitely sure. And we're going to keep pushing. I mean, because the need is there. That's, again, not one day goes by that somebody's not contacting me about needing what we do. And we need to be able to, with ease, meet the needs of these people. You got young boys who are struggling. They're out there facing some stuff. And we aren't prepared to help them engage the challenges that they're facing. And it's costing them and it's costing us. And so I just really want to encourage you to show some love, show some support. Let's make it happen. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. I'm still moving around, but hopefully I'll check back in with you guys a little bit later. But again, show some love. We need your support. On that note,